Kamaru Usman is on the phone. Kamaru, are you there?
I'm here, Ariel.
I'm sorry. I said I had to give him the opportunity. I didn't want to ambush him. I know you wanted to talk, but I didn't think it was right to put him on the spot without.
Not your fault. Ariel, it's not your fault, man. You're stand-up dude and you were doing the job. Of course he was gonna say no. That's him. He's a duck, but for some reason he has his two fans, and I mean two of them. It's just two of them that keep pestering me. He has these two fans convinced that he's not the duck. He's a duck. He talks all this trash about everybody. He talks all this about that he's this, he's that. He's nothing. Who has he? Look at who he's fought in the UFC and look at the guys that I fought in the UFC. His first fight in the UFC was against a guy that was 3-1 or something like that. 4 professional fights. He fought Mike. Who has he fought? He's fought nobody but Dong Young Kim and Damian Maia on the decline. And he thinks he's somebody. He's a nobody. This is a guy that, Ariel, I can't even go through my Twitter feed. I can't even go through it just because of how much people really want me to beat this guy up. I've been wanting to beat him up forever, but unfortunately, I've always had a fight or, he's hurt or he had a fight, but now he's not. He's free. And so let's make it happen. I'll let him pick the date. Let's make it happen.
Okay, so a couple things. He said that he's tried to fight you in the past and that you turned him down. Is that true?
Absolutely not. Never.
Okay.
Knows. See, that's what I mean. Like he knows. Damn. Like if that was true, then why would he clear the air?
Right. Okay. So and then more importantly, are they offering your fight? Like as far as the public is concerned,
they've offered it.
Okay. So as far as the public is concerned. You are fighting Emil Meck at UFC 219, but in the last 24 or so hours, you've been offered Colby Covington. If he accepts, they're willing to make a switch here?
Yep.
And he's saying no.
He's saying absolutely no. He said, hell no. Hell no. Why would I risk getting beat down that bad? Like, he's an amateur. He's still an amateur, and I'm better in every facet of the game. They offered it to him, and that's why he's saying it's false. But why wouldn't you clear the air if it was false?
Right.
Why wouldn't you say it? Like he wouldn't do it. That's the thing. Like he's gonna say what he's saying, and then he'll run. Unfortunately, and when he tried to, he's really hot on Twitter. He's a Twitter thug. That's what I call him. He tried to start a little Twitter beef a little while ago, and I squashed it immediately. All I did was tweet him back 3 simple tweets, and he was quiet. He was silent after that. And unfortunately, he's talking all this trash. I told him, if you have beef, it's not a problem. You live maybe 20, 30 minutes away from me. It's not a problem. We have mutual friends. Ariel, this is, I don't think, I'm just going to go on the air and say, I don't think people realize how much this is fake. This was a match already in the making years ago.
Really?
Years ago. My first UFC fight that I ever saw, I watched with John Jones. And this was while we were in college. We were freshmen in college.
Okay.
And I went up because me and John met in high school at senior nationals. And so he said he was going to school the next year in Iowa as a freshman. I was going to school the next year in Iowa. So during my fall break, I went up to Fort Dodge, Iowa Central, where Colby Covington went to school. I went there and spent my fall break with John. And we just hung out and we partied that week, on our fall break. And we went to a house, and that was the first time I seen a professional mixed martial arts fight. It was UFC something. I think it was Randy Couture or Chuck Liddell. One of them was fighting, and that's like 2005 or 2006. And that was the first time. And then that following year, and when I was there, I stayed in the same room that Colby Covington stayed in the following year when he went to school there. And John's roommate was Joe Soto, also in the UFC, and you can call both of them and ask them that. This is something that's been in the making. How small is this world?
Yeah.
Now I get the chance to silence this guy, but he wants to duck. You can't duck me. How can you say I have proven, my resume speaks for itself. I've proven myself inside the cage. I can do it all. The fans know it. Everybody knows it. But he's the one that's ducking me right now.
Do you think there's a chance he gets a title shot?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because, look, he's saying he just beat Damian Maia. Like, Ariel, do you remember I called out Damian Maia a year ago?
Yeah.
A year ago. I called out Dong Young Kim a year ago. All these guys said no. Damian Maia publicly said, no, I don't want that fight. Why would I take a hard fight like that,
right.
When I'm almost in line for a title shot? All these guys know. All these guys have known for years, and they continue to duck me. And the problem that I'm having is that UFC is letting these guys duck me. Like, that shouldn't be. Like, they should be released from their contract. If you're not going to fight the fight that we offer you, you need to be released, because at the end of the day, UFC is the one that's paying us. So if he doesn't want to fight, he needs to be released. Let this guy go fight in a back alley somewhere. Like, no one, and even all that. The only reason people care about him is because he went out and abused and cursed out a whole country. That's the only reason people are paying attention to him. People still don't care about that fight. People don't think that was a good fight. Like, he looked trash. His striking looked like an amateur.
You weren't impressed? Beating up Maia like that?
Absolutely. Oh man, if I would, I called him out a year and a half ago because I would have done worse a year and a half ago. Worse. While Damian Maia still had the juice, I would have done way worse a year and a half ago. Now look at that. Damian Maia lit him up in the first round. Damian Maia hurt him. Damian Maia could have got him out of there. I don't know why he went to the takedowns. You could have got him out of there. Now, Ariel, you see how easily Damian Maia was hitting him. Now imagine if I hit Colby Covington. It would take multiple ambulances to get him out of there. They would have to piece his face back together inside the cage.
So how do you get this fight now? What are you going to do?
It's UFC's call. If he says no, then UFC's got to release him because they offered him the fight. That's the fight that people want to see. I can't go through my Twitter feed just for how much there is. And it's even right now, it's going crazy. I can't even go through it just to how much people want to see me beat this guy up. He says, you know what? And I'm going to tell you something, Ariel. This is a guy that, the only way like people pay attention is because now he has to insult people. He has to insult a country for people to pay attention. He's been years ago, like a year and a half. He was in the UFC at least a year and a half before me, and I got into the rankings before him. He wants to be considered a good wrestler in the division. I'm considered the best wrestler in the division. And that's why he always tries to pose or say slight little comments here and there about wrestling, about this and that. Everybody knows that I'm better than him on every level. The only difference between us is I was given some home training. I was raised right. And now I'm going to do what his dad should have did while he was a child, and that's spank him severely until he understands, because he does not understand that. And I'm going to take this further. This is the problem that our country is having nowadays because of people like him. You can see how he carries himself. You go into another country, you don't have respect. He doesn't have respect for people. You don't have respect for you're talking about America this, America that. What does that have to do with anything? As an American, now you should conduct yourself with respect. You're coming from one of the greatest, supposedly the greatest nation in the world. Okay, then carry yourself with respect. I'm a Nigerian and American, and I carry myself with respect. Everyone that I see, I'm going to treat them with respect. This guy doesn't have respect, and so I have to teach him respect. I have to teach him respect, just like Dan Henderson had to do to Michael Bisping. I have to teach him respect.
Does Emil Meek do it for you? Like, if you end up actually still having to fight him, that wasn't the name you were pining for. He hasn't fought in a year. He's a great fighter, but not ranked last I checked. Does this get your juices flowing? Do you get excited about this fight? No disrespect to Emil. I actually hung out with him while in Scotland. He's a tough guy, but at the end of the day, let's be honest, this shouldn't be a fight for him. I think he needs a couple more fights to really get there. I'm not going to say anything for him. Of course, he's going to feel confident that he's able to be on the level, but, let's just be honest, that's not the fight, But if I end up having to fight him, don't get me wrong, I don't underestimate anybody, which is why I continue to improve in that. I don't care whether it's a guy that's ranked 300 or a guy that's ranked number 1 in the world. I'm still going to train, and I'm still going to come in there and put a whooping on anybody that steps in there with me.
And so, you know, if that happens to end up being the fight, then, hey, I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to do what I do inside that cage, and that's winning. That's winning in impressive fashion. But Colby Covington needs to fight me, and that's the fight that everybody wants to see.
What's the final message to Colby?
You know, he says people are ducking him. Colby, who's the duck now? You're ducking me. You're not fighting Tyron Woodley. So what? You're going to sit a year and a half to wait for that fight? Everybody knows that the champion is clearly recovering from his surgery. That's fine. Why are you calling out a guy that's clearly recovering from surgery? You're healthy unless Damian Maia beats you up that bad to where you need a year to recover. You need to fight me. That's the fight that needs to happen. Everybody knows it needs to happen. So let's get it. Let's make it happen. I'll let him pick the date.
Good stuff, Kamaru. Thank you. Sorry we couldn't make it happen, but I appreciate you coming on.
It's okay. Thank you, Ariel. You know that duck was going to duck me anyway. That's what he does best.
Talk to you soon, my man.
All right.
There he is, Kamaru Usman, the Nigerian nightmare, coming in